We got an early look at T-Mobile's shiny new nationwide 5G network.
You should find out if it's worth your time and money.
Stick around for your daily charge.
Good morning and welcome to the Daily Charge. It's Thursday, December 5th. I'm Roger Chang.
I'm Alfred Ng.
And I'm Eli Blumenthal.
Let's get to today's headlines. T-Mobile is set to launch its nationwide 5G network tomorrow. Keep in mind, this is different from the super fast but super limited network it quietly turned on earlier this year. This flavor of 5G offers way more coverage, hits about 60% of the country, but the speeds aren't that impressive. Eli, you had a chance to actually test out the network. What did you find?
So I've been using it for the last few days on this OnePlus 7T Pro 5G McLaren. It's a name of
Lovely
a phone
name.
that just rolls off the tongue.
Totally.
And one of the things I can't wait for 2020 is when 5G phones get normal names again, hopefully. And yeah, the experience has largely been the same as 4G, at least here in New York. We
talked about this on Monday. Like the T-Mobile has sort of promised on average 20% increases in speeds, which most people aren't really going to get. Like, ultimately, is this even worth it?
It depends on where you live. In some areas, like in Hawaii, where our colleague Jessica Delcourt has been covering the Qualcomm conference, she got speeds over 250 megabits per second over 5G. Whereas,
granted, this was at the backyard of a conference sponsored by Qualcomm, one of the biggest 5G companies out there.
Their antennas are inside.
So you can imagine every single tool that they pulled out of the toolbox was
if you want a perfectly
great.
Optimized network, you'll probably find it there.
Right.
So that's a big caveat.
So let's all fly to Maui.
That's it. We should all move to Maui.
The
For a lot of people, at least right now, it's not going to change the world. It's not going to be the crazy super fast speeds that you see with Verizon where it's over a gigabit per second.
Right.
But at the same point in time, you can actually use this inside. You don't have to be on a street corner in, New York City or, LA or one of the other 18 cities that it's in right now.
So how do I download more 5G?
How do you download more 5G? That's a great question. The quick answer is you give your wireless carrier lots of money and you get a new phone.
Oh, okay. That's good to know.
That's a really simple step, actually.
Yeah. It's just $900 for this OnePlus 7T Pro 5G McLaren. It's a nice, again, simple name. $1,300 if you want the Galaxy Note 10 Plus. T-Mobile have both of these phones on sale tomorrow, Friday, December 6th. Yeah.
Right, and we kind of knocked the speed boost because, you did get some speeds that were actually pretty impressive. I think there was an image of you with 100 megabits per second clock speed at some point.
But those were speeds that I was able to replicate on a Galaxy S10 5G on T-Mobile's 4G network. That S10 5G can use 5G when I'm using millimeter wave, which is a higher frequency type of 5G that T-Mobile has.
And Verizon has.
And AT&T has. T-Mobile only has it live in about 6 cities right now, including New York.
Mm-hmm.
And when we compare them side by side, like I did last night, I got about over 200 megabits per second with millimeter wave T-Mobile 5G compared to 66 on low band.
Just to clarify things for readers, this is what kind of makes the whole situation crappy, is if you buy these new phones that are pretty expensive, you don't get to access the other faster 5G network. You just get the slower 5G network with better coverage, but slower, right?
Yeah, there are a lot of complications with this early wave of 5G, and especially with this batch of phones, as you just mentioned. You're very much limited. You basically are picking which type of 5G you want. If you want a lot of coverage, you got to go with this or the Galaxy Note. If you want the faster speeds and you live in one of those 6 cities, you'll go with the S10. But what you really should do is wait until next year when phones are expected to support both the low band, the millimeter wave, as well as Sprint's mid-band spectrum. And Sprint, of course, and T-Mobile are trying to complete that merger.
I kind of want to answer the question at the beginning of the broadcast. So is this worth your time and money?
If you really want to show your friends that you have a 5G icon on your phone, sure, and you have $900 or $1,300 to spend, sure.
Wow, what a loser-ass friend.
Otherwise, you're really not, for the most part, going to see much of a difference. You're better off saving your money waiting for the next crop of phones that usually arrive in the spring.
Right. I will say the one benefit we saw was indoor coverage, right?
Yes,
the indoor coverage was pretty good.
Indoor coverage was a bit faster on this OnePlus compared to the S10 5G over 4G. 5G was a little bit better. Wasn't drastically different, but it was improved. So if you are primarily indoors and T-Mobile coverage isn't great, you might get a little bit of a better experience with this.
But generally, we should probably wait till next year.
Yeah.
All right, next up, ransomware emerged as a threat to individuals just a few years ago, but now scammers are on to bigger targets. So why hit one person when we could hold an entire city hostage? Alfred, you have a nice breakdown on how ransomware became sort of one of the go-to cybersecurity threats in 2019. Like, what'd you find?
Yeah, so ransomware really served as a big wake-up call for a lot of cities and over the last year. 2018, it started dying down, and then in 2019, cybersecurity companies were seeing this just really spiked. More than 70 cities and local governments have been hit by ransomware attacks. That doesn't just mean like the courts or city hall or anything. That could also mean school districts. There was one school district that just they had to cancel school for the day because they couldn't access their computer network or anything like that.
And was it Atlanta? Was the one
Atlanta was hit in 2018.
Okay,
but I mean Atlanta is a good example of why ransomware had grown so much. So
because they ended up paying, right?
Yeah. No, they didn't pay.
Oh.
So when Atlanta was hacked in 2018, this was like you couldn't you couldn't pay your water bills online. Like you had to go down to the courthouse and do it, that kind of stuff. So Atlanta decided we're not going to pay this $50,000 ransomware. Instead, we're going to rebuild our whole city computer system. That cost them $15 million to do that.
Right.
Other cities saw that and just thought, well, we can't afford to do that. So when they get hit by ransomware, they just decide to pay. But the problem is that as more cities decide to pay, hackers see that and think, oh,
easy targets.
I'm just gonna continue hacking more cities. Then. Yeah, because I can continue making more money. So the ransom demands got higher because of that too. So in the span of 1 week, 2 cities in Florida paid basically $1.1 million in ransomware ransom, I guess, or fines, fees, whatever, because they don't want to deal with rebuilding their network. But the problem with that, like I said, if you continue paying them, these attacks are going to continue happening. So now for 2020, so many different local officials, city governments, even Homeland Security is trying to figure out a way to prevent this attack from continuing the rise that it's had.
And is there something? I know there's no guarantees in this in cybersecurity, but what exactly are they doing to protect themselves from ransomware?
So the idea is that if you have good backups of everything that you're doing, even if you're getting hacked by ransomware, which is essentially they take over your computer, they encrypt all these files, and basically say, if you want the keys to your important files in your computer again, pay us this amount of money.
Right.
If you have backups of all of it and you've back up pretty frequently, then you're not as worried about ransomware, right? If this computer gets hacked, I can just say, okay, well, I have a backup from 3 hours ago. I don't need this kind of stuff. The problem is ransomware has also gotten smarter about that. So they'll wait until you don't have a backup. They can destroy backups too.
Oh, wow.
They can encrypt the backups of
okay.
So it becomes this whole cat and mouse thing. It's well, now I have this backup on an air-gapped server where it's not connected online at all.
Right.
But the thing with that is I can't. It's not as simple. I would have to take the backup and then physically go to this server and back it up there instead of doing it online. So yeah, backups are usually the key there. And backing up frequently to make sure that you don't get hacked by this. But it's very different for me to back up this one computer versus an entire city saying we got to back everything up twice a day.
That's a huge amount of data. Yeah.
How are they taking over these computers? Is this just not installing security updates? Is this bad IT management?
So they'll usually get into a computer network by somebody on the staff clicking on an email accidentally or something like that. It's
just bad security practices.
Yeah, it's usually a phishing practice. But the thing is I don't have to do anything to get infected by it if somebody else in my company did the same thing.
It just takes one person.
Yeah, because you saw with WannaCry back in 2017, the ransomware that hit all these hospitals from North Korea. That it just took it spread throughout the network. So if I share files with somebody or if I'm on the same Wi-Fi as someone here, I can get hit with ransomware even though I did nothing wrong.
Wow. All right. Lastly, as part of CNET's Decade in Review, we looked at the products that have died over the last 10 years. The one I personally weep for the most is AOL Instant Messenger, since I first started chatting with people online. Do you guys have any products that you're going to miss or are already missing since they're long and gone?
Well, before we get into this, what was your screen name?
I think it was Wizard 2401. It was very cheesy, I know. Very, very early 90s. What about you guys? What are you missing?
For me, well, from the last 10 years, just going through our story, there's a lot of, it's surprised me a little bit how much has changed.
Yeah.
Over since 2010 till now. MoviePass was a nice thing to have.
That's a recent one.
That's a recent one.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you guys subscribe to it. I did.
I never did.
It was great. For the 3 months it worked really
well.
The
early promise of it was amazing.
Yeah.
Too good to be true.
And was great.
And it really was too good to be true.
Very much so.
What
Windows
about you?
Phone
Alpha?
was another
Yeah,
one.
I guess I missed Theranos. I could really tell like all my blood symptoms from one drop.
You mean Theranos?
Whatever. It's dead. I mean, in all, like I sincerely miss like how quiet my inbox was.
Oh, yeah.
And like you were not expected to respond to people like past like certain hours, and now it's just like I don't know, like that is dead. That you like Slack coming on.
I feel
on the
like
scene
that
now.
was dead even 10 years ago, though.
Well, no, I think it's different with like Slack now though, where it's
yeah,
like
well,
you're expected to respond like even more
Alfred
frequently.
had a very
yeah.
particular
You know what?
work
You were also very
balance.
you weren't working 10 years ago.
This is also true.
Because 10 years ago, it wasn't Slack, it was email, and I was responding 24 hours a day. So
Yeah, it sucks.
that was a
news
thing.
never stops.
Yeah, that was a thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't say I miss any of these products. Just we all have like functional
You
replacements
missed
for
the
all
Zoom.
of them.
You can say
Actually,
missed
you know
the
what?
Zoom.
I kind of miss. There was a not the original Zoom, but there was a later version of the Zoom.
the
that
Zoom
was,
HD.
yeah.
The iPod Touch one.
It was like the iPod Touch one. That was actually kind of cool. It looked cooler than an iPod. It was thin, and it was kind of the basis for the Windows Phone, which I do kind of like.
Yeah,
I miss Windows Phone.
I still have my iPod Nano, like the little clip one.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it
That was
just- it just
perfect
got
for
it-
the gym.
Yeah, it just
the
got
Apple
annoying.
Watch precursor.
Yeah, basically because
Yeah.
you could put like a leather band on it or something.
Yep.
I just it got annoying like syncing music to it all the time. So,
Yes.
and yeah, I got Spotify like 2 years ago. So yeah,
Look
sorry.
at you living in the modern age.
Yeah,
There you go.
they're all dead. So.
All right, so we have my favorite topic, 5G, and Eli spent a good amount of time with the service. So if you have any immediate questions about his experiences that we haven't covered so far, please feel free to chime in and we'll keep the conversation going. Of course, if you want to chat more about ransomware or want to wax nostalgic love for that expired tech of the past decade, that's all fair game too. It's all up to you. What questions do we have so far, BVG?
Actually, turning on my microphone usually helps. The first question we have is actually about ransomware, and it's coming from Yan. This is a good one, actually. If people move to cloud computing, will it reduce the chances of ransomware? Presumably, AWS, etc., will have decent security. Alfred, what's your take?
I mean, no, I think they can encrypt like the access to that too. Like, yeah, like cloud computing is like a potential solution for something like that, but like with ransomware, they can encrypt a lot of like different files. If you're talking about cloud computing as in terms of like having the backup there, like getting access to that is also pretty simple for a potential hacker to get access to. Sorry, blah. Blah, it was a weird morning for me. Anyway, like AWS servers get breached all the time.
Yeah.
We write about like these cloud servers getting breached and then getting the data stolen. It's not hard to believe that like somebody would also be able to encrypt like the files stored on there and say like, hey, if you want these back,
But couldn't you
pay us.
presumably, in that case, since you're dealing with a third party like Amazon or Google or Microsoft, work with someone inside one of those companies to be able to get your data back, as opposed
I mean,
to?
yeah, I think you would have to make backups for that. And if you're gonna make backups, you just make backups on a physical server.
Mm-hmm.
But is it less or more secure having the backup on a cloud server as opposed to a physical server?
I think it's less secure because like if it's on a cloud server, it gives hackers a better chance of getting access to it.
All right, fair enough. Brian, what else we got?
Well, Eli, I wanted to ask, we went over a lot of the jargon and the important numbers and math and data about the 5G experience, but is there anything you can delve into on a more consumer level? Did you notice any major differences in streaming video, upload, download by hand, anything from a more grounded perspective as far as utilizing 5G on a mobile phone?
Sure. So as far as like playing something from Netflix, it opened pretty quickly. YouTube opened pretty quickly. I tried downloading PUBG last night in my apartment. I get 5G there, very solid signal, at least according to the phone. It took a little under an hour to do that. So it's still...
Did you try comparing that to like what it would take for a 4G phone?
It was basically comparable to 4G.
Pretty much the same thing, yeah.
So and that's been my experience largely. Again, this is just in New York, but that's basically been my experience, that this is not that different than what you're getting with 4G. And in some cases, that's fine, because T-Mobile's 4G is pretty fast in New York. There, again, in some spaces where I was getting over 100 megabits per second, which is great. But it wasn't as fast as something like Sprint's mid-band 5G.
Gotcha.
Was able to do things a little bit
But it's
quicker.
also in just a handful of markets, and with no real goal of expanding at this point.
Well, they do have a goal of expanding, but that's...
But it's super ambiguous.
That's getting acquired by T-Mobile
Right,
and having that thing
right,
go
right.
through.
Here's one coming from a new name that I haven't recognized before. Welcome to the show, Goddamn Gonzo. Kind of love that name. Why don't schools and medical facilities upgrade and update their equipment so it would be less of a chance to get hacked? Like, shouldn't they be more secure since they have such sensitive data? Alfred, what is the perspective on that?
That is an extremely good question. If you've ever been to your hospital or a local school and you look at their computers, I've noticed a lot of the times that they're still running like Windows 95 or XP or something like that. And the thing is, like, think about like when you go home for like Thanksgiving or the holidays and you see that your parents are still using this really old computer and you ask them why, and well, it's fine for me. I don't see any problems with it. That is the same mindset that a lot of like schools and hospitals have.
It's also money.
Yeah, that was going to be my second point, is that like they don't have that much money to do that.
Right.
And so then it's the problem with like money. It's also a problem with like lack of technical knowledge. Yeah. And you're right that they do have a lot of sensitive information that is, open to attacks all the time. It gets down to, it's not like whether or not they can or can't get hacked. It's whether or not a hacker takes notice of them and says, oh yeah, I should do this. But that is a major problem for a lot of schools and hospitals. There's a Wall Street Journal story from like a month or so ago about a hospital that actually had to shut down like permanently because they didn't want to deal with like the money that it would cost to recover from the ransomware attack.
And it's also important to know, especially for hospitals or any kind of medical establishment, there are a lot of additional regulations you got to jump through, regulatory hoops to jump through when you make technological upgrades. Like they also have to be HIPAA compliant. There's a lot of hoops, and for a lot of folks, beyond the budget aspect of it, it's like it's too much trouble, right? Yeah, you're dealing with day-to-day stuff. You just don't have time, or as you said, technical expertise to make those upgrades. So. Yeah,
and in my story, I talk about city government efforts to protect against it, like doing backups on an air-gapped server like twice a day, and stuff like that. That is New York City. Like they have a ton of money to do stuff like this. If you're in like a rural like community, right? Like what are you gonna do? Like you don't have the same level of expertise that somebody
any resources,
or you don't have the budget to hire someone to do a manual backup twice a day. Yeah. That's a full-time job.
We have Matthew Datcher in the chat, as always, with a really fantastic contributions to this commentary. He says, the problem with schools and hospitals is the fact there's a lot of equipment that the manufacturers are very slow to upgrade, so they become vectors of the attack. He goes on to say, in hospitals, it's even worse. If an MRI machine is a few years old, the management computer could potentially still be running Vista or even XP, and MRIs are really, really expensive. So, yeah, it comes down to that money thing, which unfortunately is kind of the curse and bane of anything we try to do in technology. So
yeah, I try not to look at computers anytime I'm at my dentist's office, just because I get hives over that alone. So,
but your teeth looks great. So
doesn't, but thank you.
All right, moving on. We got a few minutes left. Datcher also contributes. He says, I use the Sophos Intercept X to protect against ransomware. Alfred, any other good suggestions for people to maybe invest in if they want increased protection?
I mean, Windows Defender does something like this. Like, you don't pay for that either, where they'll prompt you to like back up your stuff all the time. And I assume that backup would be on a cloud server. But I'll just say this, with like ransomware, you specifically alone are not the target so much, because it would be cheaper for you to just get a new computer. And like, I don't think that when they see like a specific individual, they don't see somebody and think, that person definitely has really sensitive files that they need like access to immediately. Right. Like I think if like my computer was hit with ransomware, it would be cheaper for me to just buy a new computer than it would be to pay for that ransom. And the thing is, like, I don't have that many sensitive files here. It's very different if you're a government organization or like a hospital, where it's like, I have 50,000 medical records on these patients and I need to bill like their insurance company, but I don't have access to any of that, and I will I'm gonna go bankrupt unless I pay this ransom.
Right.
Like that's
the stakes are a lot higher.
Yeah.
Imagine Sagi says, companies have budgets every year and these hacks are happening all the time now. Have you heard of any companies or organizations proactively putting upgrades into their budgets?
I mean, I think every company is doing that. I think every company is paying a lot more attention to like these kinds of cyber attacks. Like I said, these ransomware attacks that I wrote about, spiking over the last year, it's more about like governments, and like obviously like ransomware does hit like companies every now and then. So Maersk, the shipping company.
Yeah.
They were hit with NotPetya in 2018. Also, that was from the Russian government, and that cost them. It was known as like the most expensive ransomware attack in history. There's an argument that it wasn't really ransomware, that it was done through like as just an attack disguised as ransomware, because they didn't give them a decryption key for that. But that one was done, like, the way that it hit was so, like, obscure, like, and I guess it's part of the point that, like, ransomware can kind of come in from anywhere, where they were the shipping company got hacked through, like, a third-party software through an office in Ukraine. Then the software was more for like office administration stuff.
Oh, wow.
They hacked this Ukrainian office administration company, put the ransomware in the software, and then all these other companies that were using the office administration software
That were sort
got
of linked to it?
ransomware from them.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Like, you can make all these upgrades, but like, it's if you're caught up in this, like, you're gonna get hacked.
Oh man, Yan is trying to go behind the curtain here. It says, how is CNET protecting against ransomware?
We got Alfred.
Yeah, they don't pay
essentially
me out
Alfred.
for this, but I actually don't know if I'm allowed to disclose what our
Yeah,
security
I don't think
programs
we're
are.
allowed to disclose that. So sorry.
Our
also
phishing
that
training
kind of
is very
information-
efficient, though. I think. I don't
We
know.
do have security training.
Yeah, they tell you, like, don't click on, like, dumb links, but the thing about phishing is that if you're, like, they can craft these, like, extremely well. Have you ever seen the fake Google sign-in
The fake
pages?
Google Docs that you get.
No.
Yeah, they're really good.
It's really good?
It's like,
Oh.
That's why, like, I don't like to call people, like, foolish or anything like that for clicking on a phishing link anymore, because
Some of
these
them
are
can be pretty sophisticated.
these are, like, really well crafted.
They do. You really have to. If it's, I guess, I don't know
Like,
if you would say best practice to just look and see where the sender's
like
coming from.
They kind of take advantage of, like, inconvenience, right? So, like, they'll send you a phishing link that's like, hey, your bank account is like whatever, click on this link to find out. And the way to avoid that is to just go directly to the bank page yourself, like open up a new tab and, like, check it. But, like, how often do you do that?
Right.
Same thing with, like, oh, you hover your mouse over the URL to see if it's really whatever. Again, people don't do that. Like, so
Right.
they're really taking advantage of,
They
like,
should be,
yeah,
but they don't.
Yeah,
Right.
but you're not going to do that. Like, there was a banking hacking campaign. Like, remember, like, a year ago or 2 years ago when all these, like, restaurants were getting hacked, like Carl's Jr. or whatever.
Yeah.
You know how that worked? So it was a hacking group that, like, would pretend that they were catering with them, and sometimes they were actual catering customers. It was like, hey,
wow.
I put in this order for, like, 50 burgers today. Like, here's the link to the address. Like, can you verify it?
Oh my gosh.
And then they'll, like, Carl's Jr. man will just, like, click on it. Oh, like, I don't see anything wrong with this. And then all their customers' credit card information was stolen.
Wow.
Boy, now I just want a Carl's Jr. hamburger sandwich. Moving on to the 5G. Imagine Sagi says companies have budgets every year. Oh, sorry, I already read that one. Skipping ahead to Joseph. Joseph asks, using a Galaxy S9 was used on Sprint, and I am using the phone on Verizon. It has the LTE bands 2, 4, 5, 13. I don't want to upgrade to a newer phone just because of the newer LTE bands. Will I be missing out?
Short term, you're probably not going to be missing out.
Yeah.
And by short term, I mean the next, 6 months or so. Going forward, these 5G networks are going to get a lot better. It's very much early days. It's very much
Theoretically, the traffic moves over to 5G. Like
4G could get better too.
4G could get better because
They're still going to be making
up.
improvements to 4G
Yeah,
because
yeah.
Not everyone. There are hundreds of millions of users.
Yeah, I don't think you should feel the need to rush to 5G even
Yeah.
over the next year or two. At this point, like, there's plenty of time for this stuff to mature.
If your phone is working and your speeds are fine, don't feel any pressure to jump. That said, if you are looking to buy a phone next year, you probably will want to get one with 5G just because if you're doing that upgrade, you might as well get yourself a little more future-proofing.
That's why I went back down to 3G. Nobody's on that now.
Yeah, that's
How's that
right.
working out for you?
It's great.
Full
My
capacity.
Kindle is so fast.
All right, speaking more generally, Storm King and many others are likely in the market for a new phone. Is now the right time to make the jump to 5G?
No,
Yeah,
I'll just say
just
no.
plain and simple, no. Especially with these early 5G low-band phones, you're doing a trade-off. Just right off the bat, you're not going to be able to use the millimeter wave. Phones that work with millimeter wave and low band aren't coming till next year, and you're going to be paying a full price for it. It's not like these phones are any
More
cheaper.
the full price, right? These come at a premium,
Right. This is $900.
Yeah.
This is a flagship top-of-the-line phone, and it's a very
and
nice
OnePlus
phone.
phones, by the way, are known for being, generally budget flagship devices. They're usually cheaper than an iPhone, which starts at this point $700.
$700 for the 11.
$700 for the 11. That's $900, a $200 premium for a phone from a brand that isn't really known for like super expensive phones.
Yeah, but you're paying for that sick ass name, all right?
The McLaren?
McLaren
Also, I don't know if you can see this
5G.
here, but
5G.
There's a nice pattern
There's
here.
a pretty sweet pattern to this
It
thing.
is a very nice phone. Like, I don't
It
want to
looks
knock
nice,
the phone.
for
The phone is,
sure.
it's got top of the line specs. It's got a gorgeous display,
Yes.
90 hertz. It is a great phone. There's,
It's a McLaren.
and it's got the McLaren
It's
name
the
on it.
McLaren of phones.
It
Quite
is
literally.
a very nice phone, but again, if you're buying it for trying to be, future proofing,
Yeah,
you're really not getting that benefit.
this is like the opposite of future proofing. You're like locking yourself into like this one part of the technology
Right.
that's out now. So, no, don't. I mean, if you can, I would hold off on buying a phone in general at this point. Like, if you're looking for a phone right now,
Well, if you're
I
looking
feel
for
like it's not a great time for that. We're
well,
like
there
on
are a
the
ton of
cusp.
deals still because it's a holiday season.
Right.
If you're looking to buy something like an iPhone or a Galaxy S10
But if you're, I mean, again, if
or a
you're
Note 10 4,
if you're
that's
looking-
4G.
if you don't need to buy a phone right now, I wouldn't buy one. Like,
Well,
unless
yeah,
you were
that's-
desperately in need of a new phone.
Even if you did need to buy a phone right now, I wouldn't buy one. There's so many good phones out there.
Well, that's the problem with technology. There's always something
Right.
newer, faster, and better a couple months away.
But I feel like we're on the cusp of some pretty big changes to the phone industry, and like if you're buying now, you're kind of missing out on some of those changes.
Right. So again, it depends on what you're looking to buy. If you're looking to buy an iPhone, Apple generally doesn't update iPhones. There are rumors that
I
they
mean,
might do something in the spring, but they usually don't do
Nah.
anything until the fall.
Right.
So you have almost a year. Samsung usually does something in the spring, but there are a ton of really good deals on some excellent Galaxy S10s and Note 10s out right now.
Yeah, right. If you don't care about 5G at all, for sure you can.
Right.
There
but
are
if you're
good
looking,
deals right
But
now.
if just going back to the question, if you're looking to buy a 5G phone,
Yeah.
you should wait,
Yeah,
regardless of who your carrier is.
You got like 2 months left until like January. Well, no, that's not even like less than 3 weeks till January. Just wait till the new year. What do you need this new phone for right now?
Wow. Okay.
Getting all
some people
judgy
like
there.
getting new phones around the holidays.
That's
They're
usually
bad people.
that's what you get for holidays. That's the holiday gift thing.
Well, what would you do if you got one of these low band 5G phones for like?
Throw at their face.
Yeah. So
No, but if I
You would
was
use
buying
it, and you'd
if
be
I was
fine with it.
if I was
wouldn't
buying a
work.
phone for my
It's-
parents, I wouldn't care if it was 5G or not.
but would you get them a 5G phone?
Right
One-
now, no.
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
get them a regular
I
phone
would
that
save.
has a,
I would
that's a-
save the money, and I would buy something that's.
thi-
Yeah, I would
4G.
get an iPhone or a Galaxy S10 or something
or
that
even a
had,
OnePlus
that's
7T or
discounted.
7 Pro.
Right. That
think-
is at this point discounted.
I think that's the point that I'm trying to make. Like these, I think we're all on the same page here. These 5G phones right now are not like worth anyone's money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. We've come to a consensus.
Unless you really want to show your friends that you have 5G.
Or the
Who does
McLaren
that?
or the McLaren thing.
Or the McLaren
I mean, the
thing.
design is pretty sweet.
Have you ever hung out with somebody that like shows off like a new tech that they have?
I
It was
mean,
like, hey, check this out.
yeah, but
I mean,
because
we hang out with
I
you.
hang out in
You have your
circles
Kindle,
where we
man.
talk about tech. So
That's so what?
You just flaunted your Kindle with 3G, man.
I didn't even
so,
show it.
Yeah, but you're hyping it up.
Okay, we are just about out of time, so let's try to go out on a semi-high note. Let's get nostalgic.
that wasn't a
for-
high note. What?
No, that was not a high note.
Okay.
Okay, so we're talking nostalgia. Yan says, does anybody remember ICQ?
Oh yeah. Yes.
Did AOL buy a CQ or no? Or was
I
that
think
like
so. I
Bebo
think
or
writing
whatever?
was on the
AOL
wall
or-
there.
AOL or Yahoo. One of them.
I can't remember.
Now
I did
they're-
use
now they're all the
ICQ.
same.
Both of them were writing on the wall.
I mean, both like
Oh, yeah, they did buy ICQ, and then they
Which
like
one, AOL?
yeah, AOL bought them, and then I remember they sold them for like way less than what they bought them for.
Yeah. That sounds about
makes
right.
sense with,
That makes total
with
sense.
everything that
That is
happened with the
AOL.
early 2000s.
Yeah.
I remember using ICQ almost as frequently as AIM. They were like different friends. I had some friends on ICQ, some friends on AIM. It was,
Yeah, I didn't know
it's a
anyone on
fragmented world
ICQ.
back then.
You guys ever use IRC?
I didn't. No.
I did use
I was on
IRC.
AIM and Hotmail. MSN Messenger, sorry.
Oh right, yeah.
Alfred, I used IRC, but only very briefly, only just kind of dabbled in it.
IRC is great. I miss IRC.
Yeah, we miss a lot of things. I am also kind of nostalgic for AIM just because that was that first, like, I think I had AIM before I had a cell phone. So, like, I'm having conversations and my parents can't listen to it by picking up the phone or whatever. You know,
Yeah, I had
I want to
AIM
get
before
with
I had
that
a phone.
girl or whatever. And I'm going to send her a
UVG,
little
what was your
emoticons.
screen name?
Gooter7, Gooter. 7 because it was a nickname given to me by my friends because Van Gelder didn't sound Dutch or German enough, apparently. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think when I was getting a phone at that age, like the priority for me was, can I get AIM on this device? Like, not like, text messages or calls or cameras.
Oh, really?
It was like, I want to be on AIM.
And AIM was on a bunch of phones early on. That was like a big headline feature.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the cool kids had sidekicks.
Oh yeah, I never had a sidekick.
Never had a sidekick. No.
Yo, speaking of sidekicks, goddamn Gonzo was also pretty excited about the old sidekick.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I would love a
kinda
5G
wish-
sidekick.
I wish that everything.
2020. Let's make a 5G sidekick.
Like
sidekick
everything
to go
else
with
has
the
been
Razer.
being brought back. I kind of wish
Yeah.
the sidekick would be.
Sidekick's actually why I got a G1 when it came out.
Oh, because it was very.
It looked really similar to it,
sidekick-ish.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wanted one for such a long time, and then I
Right.
could
Well, it's
get
the
it.
same. I mean, Danger.
Yeah.
Who made Sidekick? That was Andy
Yeah.
Rubin's company. So
Yep.
yeah, made sense.
We also obviously have to shout out BlackBerry. That was a major player for a very, very long time. I
There
know
are
they
still technically BlackBerry. There's still technically BlackBerry phones.
Technically.
If we're on the nostalgia topic with BlackBerry, so they put Jay-Z back on Spotify yesterday.
Yeah.
One of my favorite lines from him is when he says, "Out the country, but the blueberry still
yeah.
connects." Because I guess he didn't realize that it was BlackBerry, not Blueberry.
Or he couldn't say it because of, I don't know.
Oh,
Was
that's a
there
good
some
point.
legalities with saying dropping a brand, or he didn't want,
or he didn't want name drop like brands all the time.
or he didn't want to because he wasn't getting paid.
No,
from
I'm
them.
pretty sure he just didn't know that it was called like BlackBerry.
Well, there were BlackBerry models that were blue. Maybe that's why it was confusing.
The Blueberry still connects.
Blueberry.
Back
Yeah,
when that song came
blueberries
out,
or-
that blue, was it a Curve?
I don't know.
One of the early.
No, this is before the Curve.
That song came out on the Black album. That was in like 2004, I think.
I think you're disregarding the obvious answer here, and that was that he was actually in private discussions behind the scenes with BlackBerry to develop his
create
own
the
branded
Blueberry.
phone.
Blueberry
still
Jay-Z's
connects,
Or
Blueberry
maybe, actually,
phone.
maybe he created a Blueberry. They just made one for him. It's like, yep, here you go. Here's your Blueberry.
All right, and one more before we shut things down. This one made me audibly spit take when he brought it up. But Ryan said, I still have my Palm tungsten device.
Whoa.
I don't know if that really counts because he says
Whoa.
that's pre-2010, but I'm putting it up here because,
No,
like, holy
it counts.
crap.
Man, look at that pie chart, too.
Look at that
Damn.
pie chart, man.
That's
Doing
a
quality,
solid chart.
Somebody
quality
means
data
business.
crunching.
That
Oh,
dude
yeah.
is doing a business.
I had a Palm Trio at one point.
I had a
used
Trio
it for like
650.
I used it for like 2 months.
I had a Razer, and then my mom's phone broke, and she needed a phone, so I gave her my Razer, and I just took like my dad's old Treo.
No, not sorry. I didn't have a Trio. It was before that because it didn't have phone capabilities. It was just
okay.
a PDA, and I used it for like 2 months. That
I
was it.
forgot about PDAs.
It had great games on there.
I didn't even get close enough to do the games. I just scheduled stuff, and I'm like, this is kind of a lot of work.
I had some rando off-brand PDA. I don't remember what the heck it was.
Plum.
Probably, but I don't remember. But it was like, you'd store your contacts in there. I'd have my agenda, my to-do list, and I loved that thing, and I swore by it. But then when Google Calendar, came around, I kind of migrated everything to there, and that's where I've been ever since. I live and die by my calendar, so you guys know what an anal retentive organization freak I am. So
Oh yeah.
thanks for
You're
that.
great, BVG. We love you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. That's enough for today. That's enough for this week. Take care, everybody. Have a great weekend, and Roger, tend us home.
All right, we'd love it if you would subscribe and ring the notification bell if you haven't already. So you can join our growing regular audience base for the live show. Alternatively, feel free to head on down the show description where you can find links to today's stories and every place you can subscribe to the audio podcast if you'd rather take the show on the go. For the Daily Charge, I'm Roger Chang.
I'm Alfred Ng.
I'm Eli Blumenthal.
Thanks for joining us.
Can't get enough? Check out the Daily Supercharge, our extended post show with special features, audience Q&A, and in-depth reviews. Available now wherever you get your podcasts.